Now our SDLC, yeah, which one? It's a debut video capture software professional, licensed one. It is. I bought it. Right. To be frank, it's gifted by one of my student. So what is the SDLC model? So this SDLC model is a framework which contains the process, activities and the task involved to development and maintenance of an application. Right? So there are different SDLC models we have. We have waterfall model, agile model, spiral model and V model. And we are going to look at the first model called as waterfall model. So waterfall model is the first model to be introduced in the IT industry. Right? Waterfall model. The other name for waterfall model is classic lifecycle model or linear sequential model. Classic lifecycle model and linear sequential model. Right? So my waterfall model sequential model, right? And one after the other, exactly. Now in my waterfall model, it consisting of 6 phases: requirement analysis, system design, implementation, testing, deployment and maintenance. Right? How many phases it has? 6 phases, starting with the requirement analysis and end up in the maintenance phase. Now see here, with the first model, see why they named it as waterfall. Why they named it as waterfall? From top to bottom. Right, from top to bottom, right? Top to bottom. So now my waterfall model in IT industry will also go from top to bottom. See here now. Right, so for the first phase is requirement analysis. So once we get the requirement from customer, we have to analyze it and we have to ask them if you have any questions in that one. Saying that if customer has given any requirement, it's up to you. I'll close then. Is it visible to you now? Alright, so now the first phase is nothing but requirement analysis phase, where you're going to analyze your requirements, whatever customer has given to you. You'll give the BRS document, right? So we have to understand each and every requirement, what you want to develop and what you want to test. If there is any complexity, just go and ask the question to the client. Now after analyzing a requirement, we have to design the application. Who's going to design it? Who's going to design it? Your architect is going to design the application. We have architect. Let me just a minute. Just a minute. Yeah, Naveen. So now we have architect. Okay, this architect will design the application based upon the requirement analysis document. So they'll tell us, they'll do 3 things: architectural design and database design, as well as UML diagrams. UML diagrams, Unified Modeling Language diagrams. So what is it is, UML diagrams will tell you how the interaction should happen between you and the system, the user and the system, exactly. So they'll describe everything in the system design. So based upon system design document output, they're going to design the application, develop the application. Who? Developers. So every phase has to complete before you start a new phase. Don't start 2 phases at a time. If requirement analysis phase is done, completely capture the requirements, no doubts at all, then come back to the system design. Till then, don't come back to the system design. After all the documents are designed perfectly, then do the implementation. Right? Then after everything is developed, do the testing. So testing comes in which phase? In the 4th phase in waterfall model. In the 4th phase in waterfall model. Then we have a deployment, where you need to deploy your application into production. If you have a separate team for deployment, they will take care of the deployment part. And at the end, after deployment application, end user will use the application, right? All the customers will access the application and use the different functionalities. Now if you get any defects, in the production. Now we need to have some team members to handle that situation, right? Any enhancements, any defects. So we have the maintenance part. And exactly, support. We call it as support or maintenance. Alright. And see, if I have 20 people in the actual development and testing, I no need 20 people in support or maintenance part. I just need 2 developers or 1 tester, like that, based upon the priority works. Why? Because your technology is going to increase regularly, right? So now your client will ask you to do some enhancements. So we should have a team to do the enhancements, right? And so now the disadvantage of the waterfall model is testing. Testing starts in the fourth phase. So every activity has to carry it out sequentially. Though there is no activities you cannot you can carry it out concurrently. And we should review each and every phase and approve each and every phase, then start the next phase. This waterfall model doesn't allow you to go back and forth. It's only sequential, right? And if any defect you found in the testing phase, you need to go back to the originating phase again. We can start traversing from the beginning again and start traversing sequentially all over the phases. So this model is one of the best model if requirements are clearly understood and you're not changing the requirements later. And it is best model for the small and medium term project. Why? Because small and medium term projects, fixed requirements are there. But if you go for big projects, ultimately requirements are going to change. Right? That's why this model is suitable for only small and medium term projects. Mobile, no, definitely. They'll not use for mobile. No. Agile model. Agile. Right? Now, what's the advantage? It's very simple and easy to understand and works well for smaller projects where requirements are very clearly understood. And now, disadvantage of waterfall model is once the application is in testing stage, it is very difficult for us to go back and change something. It's difficult, right? Again, we need to put a lot of effort to do the requirement changes, do the design changes, do the application changes. And in waterfall model, when your customer is going to see the end application, after all the requirements are developed, how much time it will take? Lot of time, right? Years. It will take 1 or 2 years. Until then, your end user is not seeing your client is not seeing the application, right? But if your client is not seeing the application, there is a risk. Yeah, I'm here. So let's get started. No, I kept on mute. Pause. Sorry. Your internet connection is not good, right? So it will go on recording whatever you are doing. That's fine. I can put on pause. Not a problem. Now, yeah. What's the disadvantages of waterfall model? See, once the application is testing phase, it's very difficult to go back and do the changes, right? Okay, and no working software is produced until late during the life cycle. So this is my software testing life cycle, and when the application is getting into production, after in deployment phase, in the fifth phase, it is getting into production. But to do the requirement analysis, it will take a lot of time. To do the designing, it will take at least, it depends upon the complexity of an application, it will take a lot of time. And when you'll design, when you'll development, again it will take 1 year or 2 years. Depends upon complexity again. Then testing, again 3-4 months. Then when you're seeing the application, actual application, maybe after 2 years or 3 years, like that. So it is, you're seeing the application after a long time. That's one of the disadvantages in the waterfall model. But in agile model, right, you can see the output within just 10 days. We'll see that one. Okay, you did not listen my agile class till now, right? Yeah, we'll listen. Right. So now tomorrow we'll listen that one. Okay. Now, if your application is not seeing, if your customer is not seeing your application, that means there is a high amount of risk available in that application, right? Never know what is going to happen. If customer sees the application, he'll tell that he don't like that application. Again, a chance of risk at all, right? Yes, exactly. Now, not a good model for complex projects. So Naveen, recently one of my manager joined in the company, my company, and he was in US for almost 13 years, 13 to 14 years, I guess, and but he worked for only one single project, one single project. They started it, yeah, they started in 2003, and they wanted to release the application in 2005, but they could not release it because technology is moving fast, and the application requirements are changing frequently. So it took a lot of them to develop and release the application, and they almost released in 2010. See the year, 7 years of gap. Waterfall, exactly, their waterfall model, and it's poor model for long and ongoing projects. Why? Because see, always customer requirements do change. There's no application level which is worked on fixed requirement. Some other things will change, right? That's why it is not very good model for long and ongoing projects. And what is the advantage? Your project will be under control if you use the waterfall model, and if you use the waterfall model, and another important point is here phases do not run concurrently. Everything has to run sequentially. Under control. Why? Because see, under control, if requirements are not changing, we can easily develop and test and release the application, right? No, if you're, yeah, it's going to take long. If based upon complexity of a project, if it's a very small project, we can develop and we can release in very short duration. If it's a big project, it's take a long time, obviously. That's called my waterfall model. But the disadvantage here is testing. So until fourth phase, tester is not testing anything. He's not even testing the requirements also. But if there is a defect in the requirement itself, if you fix it here, it costs very less for you, right? But if you fix it in the testing phase, it's very expensive. So we should, yeah, go back and change everything. So now we can do the testing and development parallelly in other model that is called as V model. It's called as V model. V model stands for verification and validation model. It is exactly the same like waterfall model 11, but only one difference is testing and development will happen parallelly. It's also same. V-shape life cycle is sequential path of execution of process. Okay, so each phase must be completed before the next phase begins. It's also the same like waterfall model, right? Testing of the, you see, this is different. Testing of the product is planned in parallel to the corresponding phase of development. Now let's see. So this is V model. V stands for victory, right? Now this is development model, this is testers model. So this is development life cycle. Understand the BRS, create the SRS, and create the HLD, create the LLD, and do the coding. But what is happening, we will understand the requirements. Developer as well as tester both understand the requirement. Okay. Now, while tester is understand the requirement, he'll find the defects. He'll find the ambiguities in the requirement. So while he understands the requirement, he creates a plan. Which plan? Acceptance plan he'll create. He'll create acceptance plan. When application comes here, right, he'll try to implement the plan what he created into the application, such that he'll test the acceptance criteria. Now the system. Yeah. Exactly. In the application, my application is working as per my BRS or not. That's called as acceptance criteria. Yeah, exactly. As soon as we get the requirement, both developer, BA, and tester, these three guys will understand the requirements, and tester will parallelly create the test plans for each and every phase, right? And your domain expert will convert the BRS document to SRS document. Who's going to do that? Your BA. BA will convert the BRS document to SRS document. Again, your tester will understand the SRS document. He will verify whether all the requirements have been covered in SRS document or not. Yeah. Yeah, no problem. BRS is a high level document which contains customer requirements. SRS is also a document which contains customer requirement, but we are going to elaborate the SRS document. We are going to elaborate the SRS document. Based upon SRS document, you have to test your application. Right? Okay. Your developer, your BA will both sit together and they'll create a SRS document. What actually the requirement of a customer, how we need to proceed further. Now, based upon this SRS document, a tester will review and he'll check whether all the requirements in BRS, your BA is covered in the SRS document or not. Then he'll create a parallelly the system test plan. Exactly. The person, what is system testing? Testing an entire application is called system testing. It's called system testing. Now we'll create a test plan to do the system testing. Now if you get any mismatches here, then again it will go back to the BRS. We will see, we will change it, and we will do that again. We'll update the test plan, acceptance test plan, and will again come here. Right? So this is how the things will happen in the VNV model. No, right? SRS again. Again we have to verify it. Again we have to verify. Again we have to change the system test plan. And let's come into high level. They'll create a high level design, and they'll create a low level design, and based upon low level design they'll do the coding. High level design, they usually mention about the architecture, system architecture and design. So it's a UML, exactly, UML diagrams, and exactly UML, unified modeling language. They'll give the solution, in which platform you need to develop, what is the system, what is the product, and what are the different services we need to use to get the data from different application. Okay, so and integration test plan is created in this phase as well in order to test the piece of software system ability to work together. So we're going to create the integration test plan here. So integration test plan, right? Joining different modules, different units, then test it again. Why? Because see, if you develop a login module in Gmail, if I develop an inbox module, okay, if separately both these things are working fine, again after integration also we never know what is going to happen. It's a coding, right? Okay, did you watch the Interstellar movie? I mean, Interstellar. Oh, is it? Why? Man, I watched it recently after a long time with my teammates. Yeah, and there's a term called Murphy's law there. Murphy's law. If anything has to go wrong, it will go wrong. Alright? That's it will happen. That's called Murphy's law in the US. Right? Yeah. My manager used to tell me. So recently I did automation. I mean, for nobody did that automation actually till now. I created automation framework for the BPM application, business process management application, using Selenium. And yeah, Selenium actually. And my manager used to tell me, Naritesh, we have a demo on Monday. Don't do any last minute changes. If you do any last minute changes, Murphy's law will hit you. I was thinking, oh man, nothing gonna happen. What is gonna happen? We know where we are changing, where it will affect. And you know, I changed it in the Friday, but before demo, before 2 hours, I was executing to make sure everything is working fine. It stopped working. I did small change actually, but I forgot to go and change somewhere else. I changed some condition there. Condition using business logic. So I did not went and change there. That's gone. It took almost 1 hour for me to. I got tensed then. We planned a demo to the client and it was not working. What should I do? So it took 1 hour for me to go and change the things. That's called Murphy's law. I experienced a lot. That's why I told people to not to do any changes at the end of the. Let it baked for a while. We do the high level design. High level design contains the objects. What are the objects? What are the classes we need to use? classes, diagrams with the method and relation between classes comes under LLD. Then there's a class diagrams in the UML. Okay, that's what the UML diagrams. It will tell how the interaction will happen between you and the system, right? And in this phase, actual software comp. Exactly. How the data needs to flow, how the system needs to look like. So it's not very simple to develop application. I mean, there are a lot of things we need to integrate. Okay, so that solution they'll provide in the high level design. Yes, exactly. Okay, now if you see the LLD diagram here, uh, it defines the actual logic of an application. Here we are giving solution, but here we are going to define actual logic of an application. So if you want to develop any logic, we should create some classes, we should create some objects. That's part of your object oriented programming language. Okay, now then developer is going to develop the application based upon LLD and HLD, right? And this is the bottom of the V-shape model. Module design is converted into code by developers. Design is converted into code. After that, the testing starts. Unit testing done by developer. Then we will do the component testing, whether each component is working fine or not. Then we'll integrate two components, and we'll make sure after integration those two components are working fine or not. Then we'll do a system. Yeah. Exactly. Now, when it reaches the coding, application is developed, right? So now we need to go and test based upon the test plan what you created for each and every phase. Correct. Now here we need to take the system test plan, system integration test plan, and check the system integration testing. And here we need to, yeah, yeah. Mhm. We are not doing any testing before coding, right? We are creating plans, not we are testing. You mean to say reviewing document? Yeah, we will do that, right? We'll do. Mhm. It's a teamwork, Naveen. It's a teamwork. Okay, so your test lead will assign, tell them to go through the document, and recently it has happened in my team. So I have three members test engineers in my team. I forwarded my requirement to those team members, and they understood that they have a given time for 6 to 7 hours. They understood the complete requirement, and we set up a meeting day, and we analyzed what are the different questions you have, what you understood, and everything like that. No, once a system test, once a system, yeah. Uh-huh. Yes. Okay, okay. Yes. Again, the flow goes up here. Okay. Here we're gonna get the system application, entire application. Again, we will test the based upon system plan what we created in this phase. Here, yeah. Yes. Exactly. Mhm. In V model, again same thing. It is exactly like a same waterfall model. Exactly. Again, it will go to the business requirement. We have to change it. If we change it, we have to change the test plan again. Okay, come back. Yes. Here also same thing, right? Difference is testing. Only testing. We will do testing parallel in the V model. But apart from everything is same like waterfall model, right? That's it. Again, once we come to acceptance testing, we will test the application based upon what is the acceptance criteria, what is the acceptance test plan we created. Okay. That's how this is your developer's life cycle, this is your tester's life cycle. Now, what are the advantages? Again, it's as it is as simple as such, like a waterfall model, simple and easy to use. And testing activities like planning, test design happens before coding. So before coding, we are developing everything, right? And it takes a lot of time to them. It saves a lot of time, right? Yeah. Will no, will not do. Testing will happen in the fourth phase itself. After development, we'll do the designing and everything. Test cases. Testing activities, planning, not okay. Then proactive defect tracking. That is, defects are found at early stages. I don't know. In model, we are going to find the defects in the early stages itself, and avoid the downflow of a defect. Which one? Yeah, verification actually. Okay, it avoids downflow of the defects, and it also works well for the smaller project, not for the bigger projects. Alright? What's the disadvantage? It's very rigid and least flexible, right? Cloud is flexible in the sense, whenever there is a requirement change, we need to change the requirement as soon as possible, we can develop it. But there is no flexibility at all in the V model and waterfall model. It's fixed. Now, software is developed during the implementation phase, so no early prototypes of the software are produced. When you're sending application to customer, after every phase is done, after acceptance testing, you're sending application to the customer. If any changes happen in the midway, then you have to change your test documents as well along with the requirement document. Right? So this is my understood right waterfall model, V model. Clearly? Yes. Let's go for spiral model now. In spiral model, so this is spiral model actually. Spiral model is exactly based upon risk. It's a risk factor. Okay, the spiral model, your application is developed and released in the incremental releases. Now, if you see here, one spiral, right? And next spiral starts here. Third spiral. Now, my spiral model contains 4 different phases. First, determine the objective and identify the risk, resolve the risk if you have any in the application, and develop and test. So here, if you see, Naveen, this spiral model contains waterfall model again. Design, code, integration, testing, and implementation. And once you release the application into production, plan for the next iteration, next circle. Again, determine the objective, again do the risk and resolve and risk, again develop and test. Now, what is happening here is your customer is able to see the product soon. In this one, I don't know. See, we are releasing each and every spiral. After every spiral, customer can start using the application. Start using the application. Yeah. Yes, module by module we are going to release it. Yeah. So once the application is released to the customer will give the feedback. No, how can it be? Some particular functionality. Yesterday we have seen add items types, right? In the application the same way. One module. Gmail is an application. Now inbox is a module. Yeah. The module contains many units. Determine. So after customer has started using the application, right? So he'll give the feedback to us. Now, based upon feedbacks, we will see if there are any changes. We'll take it up in the next sprint, and we will add the new functionality again. We'll add the new functionality as well as enhancements or the feedback given by the customer into the next spiral, and we'll develop on the next spiral, and we will release it again. So this model is a very expensive model. Why? Because we need to have a lot of expertise to identify the risk. So this model people are going to use to develop mission critical applications. Which applications? Mission critical applications like Navy, Air Force and defense industries. Yes, this model, not application. This model. No, defense, air force, and navy. Wherever there's a risk in the project, we have to use the spiral model. Why? Because we need a lot of expertise to identify the risk in the application. It's not an easy job, right? Risk means the problems in the software. So before, see, air force, right? In the air force, people are going to travel in aeroplanes. There are a lot of risk if you get any software error, right? So we are going to identify what are the different problems that may occur in the software after releasing into production, right? These people are going to identify all these risks. They'll try to resolve and they'll try to provide the solutions for that one. And see, this model has high amount of risk, hence avoidance of risk is enhanced here, and it is a good model for mission critical applications. And see, this guy have to do the strong approval of the document. Until this guy approves the document, you should not go and develop your application. Okay, they have to approve it, and additional functionality can be added later date. And here software is produced early in the software life cycle, right or not? When it is produced early in the software life cycle, right? Okay, that means every sphere we are releasing into production. And disadvantage is very costly to be used. Why? Because high risk analysis required, highly specific expertise, and your project success is purely depends upon risk analysis phase. Doesn't work well for the smaller project. Why? Because smaller project doesn't have risk, right? If there is no risk in the application, don't use this model. If there is a risk, then use this model. Otherwise, don't use it. Mm. Exactly. Exactly. Alright? Same, exactly. I can see it's kind of a waterfall model. Okay? So until application develops, we are going to release incrementally, one by one by one. That's all for the day, Naveen. Tomorrow we'll catch up, and tomorrow purely agile, no other topic. Why? Because I'm working in agile from past 3 years, right? So I'll explain you clearly. Yeah. Tomorrow you want different time? Yeah.